Welcome to this Operoo training video. In this video, I'm going to walk you through eForm settings. For the video today, I'm going to be using my demo account with demo data, and I'm going to be looking at my Jimmy's Farm eForm, which I've previously built. If you have any questions at all, you can contact our support team. To contact our support team, down on the bottom right-hand side of your account, there's a live chat. Clicking on that, you can then start a conversation. Alternatively, on the top right-hand side of your account under Help, clicking FAQs will take you to our knowledge base, where there are hundreds of articles on how to complete a certain task, such as building a trigger. Also, clicking on support will show you all of the different ways you can contact our support agents. Lastly, for help, if you have any questions, you can also reach out to your dedicated customer success manager or CSM, and they will be more than happy to help you with any question that you have. Straight into it though, I'm just going to open up my form. So I'm going to click on the three lines to open up that form that I've previously built. I'm going to go straight into my members. So the first part of the training is the member selection. So with the member selection, this shows you, or this is where you would select who is going to receive that eForm. So you've got your static member option, which is where you are going to manually add or remove students. So if I click static members, I can click add or remove members, and then I can select students to receive that form, clicking confirm, and I now have 7 members associated with that form. Alternatively, you can click dynamic members. After clicking dynamic members and choose filter, it will then show me my groups on the left-hand side. So I could, for example, have this eForm associated to all of my students, or under my year groups, it might be for my year 5 and 6 students only. And that member selection would automatically update based on that criteria. If you have any questions at all on creating groups, or you're not familiar with creating groups, there is a training video dedicated to creating groups. So do check that one out, and hopefully that will help you with creating any groups. Clicking save and next, it's now showing me I've changed my member selection. So it's removed 7 students from that form. Then we come into the settings of the form itself. So this form is an event form. So I have an additional setting here, which I will come down to in a minute. If you choose a custom signed or a custom unsigned form, you won't have that option. Also, we do have a self-service form, which does have limited settings as well. But for my event form, the first thing I have is my access restrictions. So this is which administrators have access to this eForm. If you are not familiar with roles, there is a knowledge base on roles. Also, there is a training video that you can watch, which outlines how to set up roles. Next one down, we have allow student to view the parent response. This is for any schools who have enabled student accounts, so sending forms directly to the student without parent intervention. If the student does have a student account and you select this, the student will then be able to see the parent's response that they've given to the form. The next setting down, restrict other contacts from viewing the responses. By default, any contact who has view and update access to Operoo can see the student profile, the medical, the dietary information, and eForm responses, and they can complete an eForm. However, if you have any eForms where another contact should not be able to see what the other contact is given, so for example, a change of contact details, that form is completed by one parent and the other parent shouldn't be able to see that data. Selecting this option here, what that now means is that the parent who submitted the form, only they will be able to see the responses, and any other contacts who have access and permission to log into Operoo will not see the response that that parent's given to that form. Further down, this is where I have additional fields because it is an event form. So with an event form, I can put in the start time zone, I can put in the start and the end date for that specific event. If you have chosen a custom signed, a custom unsigned form, or a self-service form, you will not have event start and end dates. Further down, the responses can be accepted and changed up until. This is the deadline date. So putting in the deadline date, I currently have the 9th of August. When a parent receives the form, they will see straight away that there is that deadline date of the 9th of August. As a school, you can come in and alter that deadline date. So if you have a few parents who haven't responded, you can come in and change that after the fact. If you wanted to, you could lock responses that have already come in. So any parents who have already responded cannot alter their response, and that's via the form library. And then on the right-hand side, we have frequency of email reminders. With this, you can set how often you would like Operoo to email parents who haven't responded. The default setting is every 2 days. You, however, can change this if you'd like. You might start with every 7 days, and then a week before the deadline, you might come in and change this to every day. Remembering those reminders only go out to parents who have not responded. So if parents have responded, they're not going to receive emails from Operoo. When you first create your form, it won't be enabled. It will look like this. When you enable a form, you have 2 options. You can enable it straight away simply by clicking enabled, and that form is now live, or you can auto-enable a form for the future. So you might use auto-enable for limited place events, telling parents that after school club, for example, for the next term, the form is going to be live on the 20th of August at 2 p.m. So you can come in 20th of August at 2 p.m. And then after you click save, that form will automatically enable on the 20th of August at 2 p.m. So your choice how you choose to enable your forms. Then you've got your categories. If you're not familiar with categories, you can have a look at one of our knowledge base articles, contact the support team, or ask your CSM, but you create categories in your own account based on what makes most sense to you. So there's a couple of categories I've got: student trip permission forms, for example, other student forms, staff procedures, staff HR forms. So this would sit under a student trip permission form. Further down, the next one is, do you require emergency contact and medical data about each student? If you select yes here, what that actually means is if the parent has not verified the profile, and that's giving any medical or dietary information, if you have those sections open to be editable by parents, they will not be able to respond to the form until they've done that. So selecting this now, if I went to complete this as a parent, I know I haven't verified some of my demo child profiles, I would receive an error message telling me that I must verify that record before I can complete this eForm. So it's up to you whether you want that additional verification or not. If a parent has verified it, they won't receive that error message. They will then just be able to go and complete the form because they have verified the profile already. You can also choose to add the eForm replies to the profile. So looking at the student profile where you've got the medical information, the dietary information, and the safety alerts, underneath the safety alerts, you can choose to add eForm replies to that profile. So any staff members who are given access to that student can always see those eForm responses as well. Further down, your next one is display staff contact details. If you have given staff members access to the form, they will then be able to see the student information, including any medical and dietary and emergency contact information. They will then be able to see the eForm responses that the parent has given to this specific form. If this option is selected, staff members will also then be able to see their own contact information. Now that could be email and or mobile phone, and any other staff members who have also been assigned access. So if you have 6 staff members who have been assigned access to a specific form, that staff member, when they log in, they will see their contact information and the contact information of the other 5 staff members. And again, that's email and or mobile phone. If you don't want that data to be seen, just unselect that, and that information then won't be seen. The staff member will just see the names of the staff who have access to the form. Further down, track membership changes. This will show you when students have been added to the form and when they've been removed from the form. Just think of it as an internal audit log in case you need that information down the line. A couple more to look at. Send email notification when an eForm response is submitted or changed to. If you would like to send an FYI to any staff member when that eForm response has been submitted or when it's been changed, you can put in their email address into this field and they'll receive an email from Operoo just letting them know that an eForm has been submitted. It will have the student's name and the name of the eForm itself. It won't have any of the responses, just a high level FYI. The last 2 that we have here is a reply to. Whoever creates the eForm, it will automatically populate with their email address against their staff profile in Operoo. What this does, if the parent then clicks respond to the email they receive and asks a question, whoever's email address in here, that response will go to that person and they will be responsible for answering any of those questions that the parent may ask. And finally, you've got to automatically archive. So you can manually archive an eForm via the form library, or you can choose to automatically archive. This is an event form, so for an event form, best practice would be to automatically archive a form. If it's an event form after the event, when you archive the form, that will then cut off access from any staff members. The event's taken place, so they don't need access to that form afterwards. Or you can manually archive a form via the form library. Clicking Save and Next. If you want to check your settings, you can always go back into settings, but the next setting for me is triggers. So with triggers, I'm just going to take you to our knowledge base. In our knowledge base here, if you just type in triggers, we do go in detail on how to create a trigger, what a trigger may look like. You also have approval stage triggers. If you are setting up a self-service form with an approval workflow, you can add a trigger off that approval workflow. Back into Operoo though, things that you can do with triggers. You can send an email to anyone. You can send another eForm to the parent to complete. You can put that student into a group. You can add a manual tag to a student. So there's multiple follow-on actions to complete your workflow when you are creating an eForm. So for example, I've already built one. I'm going to send an email to the parent. If you wanted to add a student to a group, you would select the question, you would select the rule, and then after that, you would choose the action and follow the steps on what you need to do. The brilliant thing about triggers as well is you can add placeholders. So think of it as a word mail merge. You can add the information that the parent has provided if you're sending an email, and then whoever receives that email has all that information in the email itself, and they may not need to log into Operoo. Once you've created your trigger, click Create New Trigger, and then Next. If we then go to Preview, we now have the preview of the form itself. So in today, we have briefly covered members. So members is which students are going to be associated to the form, and therefore which parents or carers will receive an email asking them to complete that form. We've looked at settings. So in here, just as a summary, things like deadline date, frequency of email reminders, restricting access from all contacts if required, enabling the form. And then we've got triggers, which is our follow-on action, adding to that workflow, sending an email, putting a student in a group, or sending another form to the parent to complete. If you do have any questions, please contact our support team or contact your CSM. Thank you so much for your time.